and have an idea, and you can really feel something for it, but not know where it's going to end up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but not freak out when you don't know, because in fact, the most exciting thing is getting to a certain point with something and then leaving it or presenting it to someone else, hitting a brick wall and knowing because you've hit that brick wall, it's not finished, you're going to go to somewhere that you've not expected.
With lyrics, it's something completely different where it'll either be just very quick, very easy, or months and months of chipping away, literally line by line, and the sort of most painstakingly weird, anal kind of trying things, throwing them out, trying things, throwing them out, trying things, throwing them out. And to the point like where sometimes it's just, well, I've got this syllable, and I've got this consonant, I've got this syllable, and now I'm just going to wait for the rest to turn up.
Now, we all want our lyrics to be authentic while at the same time being poetic and brilliant, but that's kind of a big ask. So how do we write those actual lyric lines in a way that's more interesting, creative and poetic? In this video, I want to share two techniques that Thom Yorke uses to shape his lyrics with poetic language while keeping their authentic emotional depth. If I showed you this picture, what's the first thing you think of? Well, most of us would think of a boat, right? Because we're hardwired to connect parts and objects to bigger ideas. And this can be a really effective technique to bring into our lyric writing, to refer to something by a part of it, because it usually results in better imagery, and depending on the part you use, it can reveal some deeper meaning. So, here in Creep, Thom Yorke is using skin to refer to a whole person. But to use this effectively, we have to think about what the part we've picked is actually revealing. Using skin to refer to a person is kind of telling us that he's hung up on their outward appearance. If he was taken by some deeper aspect of the person, he might have used a part that's beneath the surface level, something like bones. So see how it works? If he had said, "Your beauty makes me cry," well, that's way too vague to picture. But by breaking beauty down to the atomic level, he was able to give us something we can visualize while getting that layered meaning across. This technique is known as synecdoche, and as well as working on the atomic level, it works the other way on the global level, where we use the whole thing to represent a part of it. In Airbag, a fast German car refers to specific makes of German cars, like BMWs or Mercedes-Benz. Yorke could have said in a Mercedes-Benz, and that would have given us something more specific to visualize. But again, this comes down to the words we choose and what they're revealing. See, the song Airbag's about realizing how precious life is after surviving a car accident. So it feels right to generalize material objects when the experience has opened his eyes to what really matters, and it isn't his flipping car. So synecdoche can either be very specific on the atomic level or very general on the global level, but it has to be a part of a whole or a whole of the thing. Start by looking for objects or ideas in your lyrics that can be broke down into parts or that are a part of a whole. Then replace a part with a whole or the whole with a part. For example, let's say we had the lyric, "I'll never forget you." So we could refer to deeper parts of ourselves to show that the other person will always be ingrained in who we are, and say something like, "You're still in my bones, still in my blood, under my nails, running through my veins." So if you're like me, you like to write lyrics with a certain poetic vagueness to them. Now it's easy to think that being poetic and vague can make for a great lyric, and then the listener can take what they want from it. But I think we're kind of cheating ourselves when we do this. Like if I asked you, what can run but never walk? That's not just a clever turn of phrase, it's a riddle and it has an answer, it has a purpose. And you have till the end of the video to figure out the answer. Thom Yorke writes lyrics that can be interpreted in different ways for sure, but he does it with a purpose.
When Radiohead first started making records, I discovered, maybe around the bends, that the bit I didn't want to show, the vulnerable bit, the bit that would be on stage and be in these situations and just have to deal with it, but didn't want to, the bit that wanted to sing about my own feelings but was scared of what that bit was the bit that mattered. And you could put up a million defenses and different things, but that's what mattered and that's what people connected with.
In No Surprises, we can see the line, "Such a pretty house, such a pretty garden." The lyrics talking about how people turn a blind eye to the way that our society's been run into the ground by the powers that be, and then they placate themselves with pretty things and material comforts.
No one talks about anything to do with collective responsibility, you know, that our government goes out and does all these ridiculous things. And we are ultimately responsible. We can't say, oh, well, it's politics. You can't sort of put politics in a corner and say, let's go talk about politics now and then walk away again. It doesn't work like that. You know, we're human beings. We don't work like that. But over the past sort of 50 years, the media has created this thing called politics and the intellectual establishment, which, you know, so you walk there and you talk about politics, then you walk with people, shut the leave, and you carry on with your life, which doesn't make any sense to me. It is... It's really crap.
And in No Surprises, pretty house and pretty garden are being used as an association with material comforts. It's known as metonymy. Basically, it lets us use related ideas and symbols to represent actual ideas and emphasize the most important parts of the subject. It can be a close association or it can be something more symbolic. To use it effectively, we have to choose associations that are going to convey meaning. Here, skull is used to substitute for mind. The lyric is written from the perspective of fear, and it's saying that fear is everywhere, always hiding in the dark corners of your mind. But by saying open up your skull instead of open up your mind, it not only gives us something to visualize, but it makes fear seem more intrusive and the whole thing seem more visceral. So to use metonymy, start looking for associations to the ideas in your lyrics, and then replace those words and ideas with the association. So let's say we had the lyric, "We talked all night until there was nothing left to say." So we could associate talk to the idiom "shoot the breeze" and then say something like, "We shot the breeze till it like crimson in the sunrise." So now that we have these two building blocks in place, this is where the fun starts.
My cliche thing I always say is like, you know you're in trouble when people stop listening to sad music. Because the moment that people stop listening to sad music, they don't want to know anymore.
We're emotionally
They're
redundant.
turning themselves off.
Street Spirit, according to Yorke, is about staring the devil right in the eye and knowing that no matter what you do, he'll get the last laugh. But let's look at how he uses a combination of synecdoche and metonymy in the lyrics. The first line has an atomic level synecdoche, where a row of houses is being used to represent the whole of society. Blue hands in the second line is an example of metonymy, with blue being a substitute for cold and lifeless. Then in the third and fourth lines, all these things is a global level synecdoche being used to substitute for the specific emotions that are just too overwhelming to articulate. If you were to rewrite that lyric with no figurative language, you might get something like this. Society is frightening. It's a cold and lifeless thing. It's overwhelming, but we eventually just accept it without question. Now here's the real secret sauce, because let's look at how Thom Yorke uses synecdoche and metonymy to build metaphors. We can see them laced throughout the metaphors in All I Need.
On the next step, waiting in the way. I'm running out of more, trapped in your heart. I am all there that you choose to ignore.
So that song is about someone who's always waiting in the background for their partner's attention. In the first metaphor, he's saying he's waiting his turn, but he's using the association of a play to express that idea. In the second line, he's using a global synecdoche with animal instead of naming a specific type of animal like a dog. In the last line, all the days is another global synecdoche using that generalization instead of specific instances. Now, using these techniques can take a bit of practice if you're not used to it. So, watch this video next and I'll show you a really powerful tool to get your writing in the right direction. And make sure you watch it to the end, because combining these two techniques can really level up your lyric game fast. Oh yeah, the answer to the riddle? A river.